Welcome to Rec Therapy!
Hi, I'm Vicki. I'm Director of Rec Therapy here at Peakview.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm a rec therapist.
Hi, I'm Claire and I'm a recreation therapist.
So on admission to Peakview, we interview our patients to find out what kinds of things they like to do during their leisure time. So many of our patients say, I have no fun. And so our goal here at Peakview is to give you an opportunity to participate in activities that you may have done in the past or you may not have done in the past. Overall, our goal here in rec therapy is for you to have some fun.
Make sure to stick around for this video because we've got an awesome program for you today.
Hi everyone, I'm Jo and I'm an intern here at Peakview in the Recreational Therapy Department. For Creative Arts Thursday, I have planned a poetry packet in a sense for you guys to follow along. I'm sure everybody knows what poetry is, but we're just going to go a little bit more in depth today. I would like to discuss a couple benefits of writing and reading poetry. So with writing poetry, a couple of the benefits that it can improve cognitive function. It can also help heal emotional pain. It can lead us to greater self-awareness. It can also provide a gift of inspiration or education to others. And it helps us celebrate. So with reading poetry, it can improve verbal skills and your memory. It can improve critical thinking. It can also develop empathy and insight. And it also encourages engagement with other art forms as well. For today's activity, if you would like to follow along with the provided packet, we're going to be going over a couple poetry concepts. And we're also going to be reading a couple poems and answering a few questions about those poems. So just starting at the top, right below the image of the poetry. Poetry as a written art form predates written text. The earliest poetry is believed to have been recited or sung. It's used as a way to remember history and laws. A rhythmic and repetitious form would make a long story easy to remember and retell before writing was available as a reminder. The development of modern poetry is generally seen as having started in the beginning of the 20th century and extends into the 21st century. There are many different ways to write poetry. Provided below are a few different types. If you desire to write one on your own, you can follow the example, or make it up as you go.
I like it.
So the first type of poem that we're going to be talking about is a haiku. This is an ancient form of Japanese poetry that became very popular. It's known for its small size. Haikus consist of 3 lines, and they can be repeated. So it'd be like 3 lines, 3 lines, 3 lines, kind of like in the example below. So the first and third lines are going to have 5 syllables, and the middle second line is going to have 7, and they don't have to rhyme. With the example below, he has 9 different lines, but it still follows that pattern of 5, 7, 5 with each line. You could read through that if you like, and just get a better idea of what a haiku is. The next type of poem that I provided is free verse. As the name suggests, it does give a fair amount of freedom. There's not really any rules, standards, or guidelines to follow in writing this poetry. It can rhyme, it doesn't have to. It can have as many lines or stanzas as you wish. I provided a short example of free verse poetry below. You can read through that to get a better idea of what a free verse poem is. The next type of poem that I provided is a sonnet. This is an old form of poetry made famous by William Shakespeare. The word sonnet is Italian for little song. So sonnets are made of 14 lines. For this example, I just put in the most familiar type. The letter represents what line should rhyme with what line. So the first A should rhyme with the other A's, the B's should rhyme with the B's, and so on. And then I also have an example of a sonnet below, if you would like to look through that. The next form of poetry in our packet is an ode. An ode is the oldest form of poetry. It was derived from the Greek language meaning sing or chant. It's usually written to praise a person, a thing, or an event, and they're usually quite short. As a kid, I remember reciting "It's raining, it's pouring, the old man is snoring." The old man is snoring. So that's an example of an ode, and it's pretty famous. Especially like as a little kid, you sing this in preschool and stuff. Yeah, so there's not really any rules for an ode, just that it's short and it's catchy. Just like the name suggests from the Greek language is that you sing it or chant it. So normally sung in like a group or something. The next form of poetry that I provided is a ballad, and this is a traditional form of poetry that typically tells a dramatic or emotional story. Ballads usually have 4 lines, and they have a rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B. So every other line rhymes with each other. And below I provided an example if you want to get a better idea of what a ballad is. Those were just a few types of poetry, poems that you could write. There's a bunch more, there's hundreds. But below the ballad example, I have a poetry word glossary. So if you don't know what a stanza is, or what a rhyme scheme is, it kind of goes through and explains those a little bit. I have 4 poems, and after each poem there's a few questions to answer. For the 4 poems, I ask for a volunteer to read it to the group, and you can do the questions together or separate, whatever you wish. We have The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. It's a fairly famous poem. There's a couple discussion questions to look over after you read it. The next poem is Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. It's very inspirational, and then I have 5 questions there. And then The Tiger by William Blake. This one is a little bit harder. I challenge you to, think out of the box on who the tiger might, or what the tiger might represent, or, it might be an idea or a person. The last poem that we have is Daffodils by William Wordsworth. And then there's a few questions following that. I hope you guys enjoy this activity. It was really fun to put it together, so I hope you guys have a lot of fun with it. And I really encourage discussion after you guys are finished with your packet, and just, compare answers, see where you guys were similar, see where you were different. And we all perceive things differently, so everybody's gonna have a different perspective of, how they took the poem, how they understood it. So, I challenge you to open up that discussion and